What is up everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be going through a money method in which you can do to go and get yourself a bit extra coins. In fact, it's not even just a bit. You'll be able to, in some cases, times the amount of coins that you have by even 5. And we do have some examples of this in this video. But before I do get into the method, if you do enjoy the content that I'm delivering here, then make sure that you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified the next time I upload. Doing so will lead to you seeing these videos first, and that way you can take advantage of this method on the transfer market, meaning that you can get as many coins as possible before everyone else jumps aboard. So getting back into the video, this method will help you go from 10k to 100k and eventually make 200k, 300k, 500k and so on. And the premise of the method is to look at players out of position. This is something that is always overlooked within FIFA and has been for previous FIFAs. Players build teams by buying the cheapest version of that player on the market, only to realize that they bought a center defensive mid in a center mid position. So they have to go and buy a position modifier and apply that to the player. Once it does come round to them finally wanting to sell that team on after playing a few games, either in FUTChamps or they've been playing with it for a couple of weeks, that's when they go and list that player, only to list it on the transfer market but still list it as a center defensive mid rather than a center mid. This has always been a mistake by players. Players don't realize that that center mid has value, as a center defensive mid to a center mid position modifier goes for 3,500 coins, which adds a huge value to any type of player, even if it is some of the worst center defensive mids within the game. So for the method, this is what you need to do to set up. Make sure that you have either a phone, tablet, PC, laptop by your side, because you want to be heading over to FUTWiz, or at least any website that shows all FIFA 21 players and allows you to set parameters. In this video, we are using FUTWiz, and I will leave a link to this in the description down below. Once you're over at FUTWiz, you want to set these parameters, the quality being gold rare, the position being center defensive mid, and then you also want to set the leagues as Premier League, Serie A, Ligue 1, Bundesliga, and La Liga. This just narrows down the best center defense in the most popular leagues. If you want to go for common gold or look at a league that's not as popular, you might find that it becomes a lot harder to sell that item. Not impossible, but just a lot harder. With the parameters we have here, we're looking at decent players in very popular leagues. Now all you need to do is go down a list and search each player's name, but instead of doing their default center defensive mid, you're going to set the position as center mid. It's also worth noting that you should probably avoid the players such as Casemiro, N'Golo Kante, Kimmich, Busquets, Fabinho, Jordan Henderson, Rodri. All of these players are way too popular to do for this money method. They're way too expensive and have too many players looking at them at one single time. But the players from 84 rated going all the way down to 75 rated are definitely worth it. So search each player's name, but instead of doing their CDM position, you're doing center mid. You'll notice with all of these players, even at this stage of FIFA, there's next to none on the market. This just makes life easier for us. Look at the price difference between each player. If there's a massive gap between the price, then buy it. For example, I searched Konrad Laimer from the Bundesliga. Most were going for high 3,000 coins, but there was one listed at 1,100. This is an absolute steal with a lot of wiggle room to undercut the very next cheapest one. Give me a lot of profit while still being able to sell this item relatively quickly. You'll also notice that this player was set at this price for a decent amount of time, round about 1 minute, and this was done without any other players noticing it and being able to jump on board. This is simply because other traders don't snipe these types of players. They're not brought up regular enough for players to actually be involved within this. So in some cases, you can go and look for some players and they're on the transfer market for 10, 20, 30 minutes without anyone else noticing, and they are extremely undervalued. If you see any players under 2,000 coins, it's fair to say that it's a pretty decent deal, due to the CDM to center mid being 3,500 coins. So that Conrad that I got for 1,100 coins, I listed for 3,500 coins, which was undercutting the next cheapest by a couple hundred coins, and you definitely want to do this. Make sure that you're always undercutting when you resell these players. That way yours is always the cheapest on the market, and if anyone is looking for that specific player in the center mid position, yours will be the first one to go. This is pretty much the method. You just want to go through every single player, go through the list of names, search them up with the center mid position, and buy the ones that are extremely undervalued. Not every player search will give you a good deal like this, but you will definitely be surprised of how many different people make these mistakes by listing these types of players thinking that they're center defensive mid players rather than center mid players. This is not the only way to make money from this method. If you see a really good deal on buy now, buy it straight away and list it. But you can also get great deals, maybe even better deals on a bid. You just need to wait a bit longer. So when you're going through the list of players' names, searching for center mid positions and buying anything that is undervalued, also look at players that are undervalued through bids. If you're looking at a player and all the buy nows are 3k plus, but there's a player with a bid option less than 2k, then add it to your transfer target and bid on it later once it gets down to the last 30 seconds. Players overlook the fine details. They see the player's name and simply decide whether or not it's worth buying into. This means that other traders will look at this player in a common CDM position and bid appropriately for that specific type of player. But we see it as a center mid, and this can lead to many occasions where you bid 700 coins to 1000 coins and get that player to list it on for 3k, 4k, maybe even 5k, making a huge amount of profit. A very good example of this is the player called Joshua Gulavagu, which I think I'm definitely butchering the name. There was only 3 on the market and all 3 were listed at extremely high buy nows, 8.6k and above, but there was one with an option to bid. I placed a 750 coin bid, and because it was already overpriced for his normal card, players overlooked it. So I got that player for 750 coins. Now I did not list this player anywhere near to 8k. I knew that was extremely overvalued. I listed mine for 4,400 coins, and eventually after relisting it a few times and also bringing down the price, I sold it for 4,200 coins. Meaning on this just one deal, I 5 times my coins. Just like last time, not every deal is like this. You get some very good ones where you can make thousands of coins, but other times you can just make a couple hundred. But at least you're still getting these deals, and at the end of the day, profit is profit. Doing it this way does take a lot more time. I go through the whole player list and add any good bid deals to my transfer targets. Now everyone has their own bidding technique, but I wait until the last 30 to 40 seconds to put a bid in. This leads to many cases where I'm waiting 10-15 minutes for a player just to put a bid in, only to be outbidded seconds later and actually lose the deal. But you'll definitely have more success with bidding on these types of players than being unsuccessful. And for the players that you do get, you'll be making thousands of coins out of them. Now there is one third and final way in which you can make money out of this method. This way takes the most amount of time, there's a lot more work, and the risk is a lot higher. You would think that if the risk is higher, there's chances of making more profit. But no, you can actually make less like this. But because I have spent some time working on this method and I did make coins out of it, I thought I would share it with you nevertheless. So the third way is to do all the work yourself. You want to go and buy the player in a center defensive mid position, buy the position modifier, apply that modifier to the player and then list it on the market. This is best done with the rarest of players. So whilst you're searching for players' names in center mid positions, if you come across a player that only has a couple listings on the whole market, or even better, there's absolutely nothing, then this is where you have the opportunity. For this video, I used Danilo Pereira, which had a couple listings, and I also used Martin Darun, which had absolutely nothing. I found both players listed on the transfer market in their CDM positions and bulk bidded on as many as possible, a couple hundred coins below market value, and then went over to position modifiers with CDM to center mid and did the exact same thing. Just bidded a couple hundred coins below the minimum buy now. I'm spending about 4,000 coins on each player here, but because there's next to nothing on the transfer market, I can actually set the price. This method involves a lot of back and forth because you need to bid on those items, send those items back to your club individually so you can apply those position modifiers to each player and then send that player to the transfer market. But I was able to list these players anywhere between 6,000 coins to 7,000 coins, which would give me around 2,000, 3,000 coins profit. This is a lot more work and it is so much more riskier because you're now putting 4k on the line. All it takes is another player to do a very similar thing and undercut you for you to lose the amount of profit that you can make. You also don't want to flood the market here by listing page after page after page of the exact same player at the exact same price which was listed at the exact same time. This seems to put off players because they understand that you're price fixing. So what I tend to do is list a max of 3 of the exact same player at the exact same time, not to flood the market. I would also price them at different prices, one being somewhat undervalued and then the other 2 being higher valued. That way I'm forcing any potential buyer to buy my cheapest one. And then once those other 2 items expire, I will list one of those cards a lot cheaper than the other, doing the exact same thing again, forcing any potential buyers to buy my cheapest card. But anyway, this is the method. This is how you can make tons of coins within FIFA Ultimate Team without actually having to do too much work. I spent a couple hours across 2 separate days doing this method, bidding, buying, and also buying a CDM and then buying a player and applying them together. And I managed to go from 50k all the way up to just under 200k. And I will carry on using this method to get 500, maybe even push to a mil. And I'm hoping you guys can have a very similar amount of success with this method. If you do use it, let me know in the comment section down below what type you're using. Are you just trying to buy these players? Are you trying to bid on these players? Or are you trying to change the player's position and then resell at a higher price? I'm curious what you guys are doing, so let me know in the comment section down below. Anyway guys, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going. So see ya.